And just allow yourself to fully arrive to this moment. Everything that you want in life is only possible in the present moment. Allow yourself to just drop into this very moment. For a moment, allow yourself to be free of thoughts of the past or thoughts of the future. And just allow yourself to exist in this very moment. Allow the awareness to come to the breath. Don't try to change the breath, but just allow the awareness to anchor into it. And you'll notice that simply by being aware of it, the breath automatically becomes slower and longer. And as the awareness is anchored in the breath, allow that awareness to be centered not so much in your chest and lungs, but actually low in your abdomen. See if you can bring the awareness of the breath as it comes in and flows out. Can you bring that awareness very low in your abdomen to an energy center called the Swadhisthana chakra? It's just about 2 inches below your belly button. Draw the awareness of the breath there. And as the awareness is focused on the breath low in the abdomen, and your eyes are closed, allow the power of sight. Because sight is not just that which happens in our eyes. There's a power of sight that comes from the brain that actually allows you to see. Utilizing that power of sight with the eyes staying closed, allow that power of sight to start to open your third eye. Can you see, even with the eyes closed? Not the people in front of you, not your fingers, but can you have an experience of sight through that third eye, with the power of sight coming from within the mind? Don't force it, but just see whether directing the intention of sight to that third eye, whether you can start to have an experience of it opening and actually being able to see through it. That third eye is known as the Agya Chakra. And it's the energy center of the power that enables us to see the divine, to see the truth. Allow it to open. You have the power, just allow it to open. Remembering to draw the awareness back to the breath. You can do those two things simultaneously, where the awareness is anchored in the breath and the power of sight, the power of the mind's eye is opening your third eye. If you get distracted, don't worry, just bring the awareness back to the breath. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of your hands together at chest level and rub the palms of your hands gently against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly open the eyes and lower the hands. Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together. We'll start as always with a question that's come in advance from our internet online audience joining us from so many different platforms. And then we'll open it up here to any questions that any of you here have. How do you let go of the idea that someone left you? And that is asked by Nabil Luna on Instagram. How do you let go of the idea that someone left you? Well, sometimes people do leave us. At least on this physical, material plane of existence. Sometimes that's absolutely exactly what happened. They may have left us because they passed away. They may have left us by choice, broke up with us, divorced us. They may have left us without choice. They had to move away, some reason, some situation arose, whatever it is. But in a lot of cases, that isn't just an idea, it's actually something that happened. Now, I'm thinking that what she probably meant is, how do we get over that? How do we let go of that, the thought in our mind constantly of the person who left us? So here's something really important about love. Love does not exist in another human being. It exists in you. The love that you feel, that feels so good, is love that exists in you. Someone else may be the catalyst for that. Looking at them, thinking about them, talking to them, being with them, may be the catalyst that turns on what I call our internal love manufacturing plant. But that plant exists inside of you. The reason that you feel so good when you're in love is because all of that is happening within you and it's bubbling up in you. It's chemical. All of the feel-good chemicals in the body and the brain are just being secreted all over the place. All of our feel-good patterns, receptors in our brains are all getting stimulated and turned on. It's happiness, it's peace, it's belonging, it's excitement, it's all of those things, it's reward, it's everything. But it's all happening within you. And what that means is that whether that person is there or not, you still have that capacity to generate the love. What a lot of us do is we are in love, and then tragically we lose the object of our love. Again, whether because they died or they consciously, intentionally left us, or they just did something that was so horrible and betraying that we had to break up. But in any case, we feel like the love is gone. And that's what hurts just as much, if not more, than their physical absence, is that experience of love that we had, we no longer have that. And that's where it's so important to remember, that's in you. You've got the capacity to keep loving. I don't mean that you keep, loving the personality of someone who abused you and betrayed you and left you. But you have the capacity to just keep loving, to love in general, to love being loved, to love loving. Love doesn't go away just because the object of it is no longer available. And here's how you know that. Things that depend upon the object, things like air conditioners, for example, or heaters. Well, the closer you stand to an air conditioner, the more cold air you get. The farther away you go, the less cold air you get. You go into another room, you get no more cold air. Similarly with the heater. Similarly with music coming out of a stereo. Whatever it is, anything that exists inside something, in one object. Cool air in the air conditioner, heat in the heater, sound in the boom box or stereo, whatever it may be. The nearer you are to it, the more you have. Farther away, the less you have. But with love, if the person you love stands up and they walk into the bathroom or the kitchen, or they get in the car and they drive to the grocery store, you don't feel any less love. You're not heartbroken till they come back in from the bathroom. If it was a hot July day and your air conditioner stood up and walked into the other room, in a few minutes you'd be like, oh my God, I'm dying, come back. But that doesn't happen with someone you love. You're able to go minutes, hours, even days, they go on a business trip. You don't feel less love. Because that love is in you, not inside them. If it existed in them, the farther they walked away from you, or when you went to work, or you went on a business trip, or you came to Rishikesh on a spiritual holiday, you would feel less love. Like the air conditioner or the heater that is on in your house is no longer benefiting you sitting here. But the person you love who's in your house, you still feel all of that love. You can't hear the music that's playing there. You can't feel the heat that's there. But you feel the love. Because that love is in you. And so if someone leaves you, it doesn't mean that you have to let go of the love. Recognize that you've got the power to keep generating love. And even if you don't love their actions or love their words or love their personality or love their choices or love their decisions, anything that's relegated to their physical being, you may not love that anymore at all. But you still have love in your heart. And don't let them steal that from you. They may have stolen other things from you. Don't let them steal love. And just recognize also that people come into our lives for different karmic purposes. And there are some karmic purposes that are there for lifetimes. Like people you're with and you just feel like, lifetimes. But then there are people who are there for a much shorter period of time. It may be days, it may be weeks, it may be months, it even may be a few years or more than that, a few decades. But they're there for a specific purpose for a finite period of time. The threads of your karma were intersecting for a finite period of time. And so bow to that, acknowledge that. The only thing that is guaranteed in life is change. And whether it's your own physical body and its health and its youth and its abilities, whether it's your relationships, whether it's the stock market, whatever it is, things keep changing. They just keep changing. And so just be aware that that is the nature of nature. But lastly, remember, you're still there. What we do a lot of times when someone leaves us is we leave us along with them. We abandon ourselves because someone else abandoned us. So they left us, now we stop eating, stop sleeping, feel miserable, hate ourselves, hate life, contemplate suicide, all kinds of things that people do. Don't leave yourself just because someone else left you. You're the one who's constant. So stay. Other people will come and go. Yourself and God are the only ones who will never leave you. So when we get left is really the time to re-strengthen our relationship with ourselves. Okay, hey, I'm still here. I'm still here. Be that best friend to yourself, you know? Be there for yourself. Somebody else may have left you. That was their foolish mistake. Okay. But be there for yourself. It's not that someone else made a stupid decision and so now you follow them and make the same stupid decision. Just because someone else left you doesn't mean that you are worthy of being left. As you are angry at them for leaving you, as you hate them for leaving you, don't do the same thing to yourself. Stay there and keep generating and manufacturing that love. Generate it for every flower you see. Generate it for every star in the sky. Generate it for every person you see on the side of the road as you pass. Just see whether you can generate love. For everyone and everything as much as you can. And just keep generating it and generating it and generating it. Other questions? Yes. You can just come to the microphone.
Thank you, Sadhviji, for allowing me to ask you a question.
Sure.
It's about, if somebody start realizing his manifestations, is it a sign that he is on the path of his spirituality? And when I talk of manifestation, there could be many types of manifestation. One is the physical level, acquisitions, property, dream home, position. Another could be, as just you talked about, love. It could be peace. It could be tranquility. It could be physical health.
Yes.
Many things are there, which are basically internal. You see somebody suffering. It could be birds. It could be animals. You feel compassion for them. You want to help them. Somebody amongst us is suffering, so you feel pain.
Yes.
So this is what my question is. If things start manifesting to you, then is it a sign of that you are on the right path of spirituality? Thank you.
Stay there for just a moment. You mean if the things that you think about, if they start manifesting, that's what you mean, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And when we say it's not in the meditation,
No,
I'm
I
manifesting.
understand. I know what you mean.
It's whole day I'm thinking something.
And it manifests.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank
Okay. So, absolutely. Having that which you need appear in your life is something that happens when we are deeply connected on a spiritual path. Meaning, it's available for everyone. It's not that God is up there deciding, oh, you're spiritual enough that now I'm going to make this happen for you. Oh, no, you're not spiritual, I won't make it happen for you. It isn't that. It's that which we are thinking when we are spiritually connected is in alignment with the universe. And that's an important thing to realize, because it's not that we suddenly become a magician. It's not that the more meditation I do, the more I'm a magician. It's that the more meditation I do, the more spiritual I become, the more my thoughts, my desires, my needs, my wants are actually in alignment with the universe. And the more in alignment with the universe you are, the more the universe supports you. I remember Pujya Swamiji talking about in the days when he was young and meditating in the jungles, that you would run out of a candle and suddenly somebody would appear with candles. I've had several situations like that happen in his presence, where the sorts of things that most of us would consider it miracles, but it's really about being in alignment. He wouldn't say, oh yeah, I'm making miracles happen. It's just, you're in alignment. But they happen, they're extraordinary. I'll give you just one example. When the huge tsunami struck India back in 2004, end of 2004, Thailand, other parts of Asia, and South India, very, very badly. Hundreds of thousands of people died. We went down there to do work to help the survivors of the tsunami, to do whatever we could. We had no idea of the extent of the devastation at that time. We get down there, and we're standing in this coastal area where there's nothing but rubble. Nothing but rubble. And women, because the men were the one killed, the men were the fishermen, the men had gone out on boats. The women were the ones back at home. So the men, the boys, they were the ones mostly who died. Women are sitting on rubble, staring at the ocean. By the time we got there, it had been 48, 72 hours since the tsunami. They hadn't budged. I mean, casebook PTSD, just sitting on the rubble, staring at the ocean, frozen. And we realized that along with food and medical care and all of the things that we immediately got into providing them, and clothing and items, that they needed houses. Their houses were all destroyed. They needed a place where they could sleep, cook, change, bathe. So we're standing in this huge open field with the district collector, which is what we here call the district magistrate. In the south, they call the collector. Basically the government guy in charge of the whole area. And Pujya Swamiji is saying, we need to put in temporary houses. We'll pay for them, but we need you to help us figure out where to do it. So he says, I don't know where we've got land that's big enough. So Swamiji says, well, how about right here? We're on this huge piece of land. He says, fine, take it. So we then say, well, we need a contractor. Like, we're not going to get our contractors from Rishikesh to come down to Tamil Nadu. So we get a government contractor. We've got translators who are translating the Tamil into Hindi or into English. Finally, we agree. Originally, the contractor had said it was going to take him like 2 weeks, and he could build, I think it was 70 houses. Swamiji says, we need them in 2 days, and we need at least 100. So they agree on something like 3 days or 4 days, whatever it was, maximum. And they're going to build thatch. People had been living in thatch anyway. We'll build them temporary until the permanent housing rules get finalized. But in order to do 100 of them that quickly, he says he's going to need to bring in lots of other teams. No problem. Bring in as many teams as you can. Just get everybody. We need these women to get into houses. So he says, well, all right, but I'm going to need at least 50% of the money up front. Now, the tsunami had just hit. Banks were not functioning. Nothing was functioning. It wasn't like there were ATM machines. Mail wasn't working. It wasn't like we were going to be able to get a check sent by courier mail right away or money transferred from Rishikesh. So Swamiji's telling him, yes, no problem. By evening, you'll have it. We had taken with us 5 of our young Rishi Kumars, the young boys, and we're studying, and I look at them and I'm like, how much money you guys got? And, between them, they had the equivalent of, like $11 or something, nothing. Nobody had any money. And I had a little, and we were with the famous Bollywood actor Vivek Oberoi, and he had a little. Between us, I think we had the equivalent of maybe a couple $100, maximum, in cash. And Swamiji's just given this guy assurances that by evening he's going to have thousands and thousands of dollars in cash. A couple of hours later, we're sitting in our makeshift office that we had just put up there, a little tin slab and some plastic chairs and table and whatnot. And I can see from far away this car is coming. And I can see it from far away because they hadn't yet cleared the roads after the tsunami that had brought all of the sand onto the road. So the roads were all covered in feet of sand. Mostly no cars came, and when they did, all of the sand would go up like this in the air. So I can see this car coming. And it stops, and these 2 people come out of the car, and they start walking toward us. And I notice that the gentleman is a Sikh. He has the turban on, and with him is a woman. And as they get closer, I recognize them as actually close devotees of the ashram. And they sit down, and after they've had some water, the gentleman reaches into his briefcase, and he pulls out an envelope, about this thick. And he says, we had gone to Rishikesh to celebrate New Year's. But we found that you were down here doing tsunami relief work, so we thought, well, let us come and celebrate with you. We landed in Chennai, and we just kept asking people along the way where you were, and because you're so famous, everybody knew, and eventually we reached here. And he said, I had brought this money to donate it at the ashram for the New Year, but now that you're here doing this work, I thought, let us just donate it for this project. It was a big, yellow colored envelope that had the top folded over and stapled. To the rupee. It was exactly 50% of what the contractor had quoted us to the rupee. I didn't have to open the staples. I didn't have to open the envelope. I didn't have to add or subtract. We simply had to take that envelope and hand it over to the contractor a couple of hours later at the house. Now, that's one of many stories of that type of manifestation. It's not that Pujya Swamiji waved some kind of magic wand and said, make money appear, or that he did some money manifestation, meditation, or mantra. It's that when you are in alignment, spiritually, but also in your actions, with the universe supports you. So yeah, it's a good sign. But if it's not happening for you, I also wouldn't take it necessarily as a bad sign, because there's a lot of things that require a lot of work. Not everything happens immediately. Lots of people are doing great work in the world who are not simply being handed envelopes full of the cash they needed. And it doesn't mean that they should stop doing the work or that somehow there's something wrong with them. It may just mean that your karmic journey is one of putting in a little bit more effort, of struggling a little bit more, of some more challenges in that particular area. But on the deepest spiritual level, what we know is we're creating our own world. There's a teaching in the scriptures that says, Yatha pinde, tata brahmande. As is the individual, as is me, so is the universe. As I am, so is all. Or we say more colloquially in Hindi, Jaise drishti vaise shrishti. As I see, so is the creation. So we are literally manifesting our own world in a lot of ways. We now know through science that actually our thoughts go out of our heads into the world as actually brainwaves. It used to be that in order to do a brain scan, you had to hook up a bunch of, electrodes on the skull, and that's still how they do most of them. If you want the most detailed neurologic readings, they still have to do that. But you can actually get a brain scan inches away from someone's head. I forget what it's called, but it's all brainwave magnetic energy, where the machine that's not even touching the head is picking up brainwaves, which is the best scientific evidence for the fact that thoughts are things that I've ever heard. I mean, we feel it, we know it when you're around someone so frequently you feel like you know what they're thinking. But now we actually have the science to show us that, your brainwaves actually go beyond your skull into the world, creating vibrational energy into the world. So absolutely, what you think about, it manifests. And sometimes it manifests in certain ways. Sometimes it manifests because when you think about it, you're aligning with that happening. You're working for it to happen. You're allowing grace to flow. And so it's there. Absolutely. And just lastly, as you concluded your question talking about being around people or animals who are in pain and suffering. If your heart goes out and you've got a sincere desire to be of service, what you'll find is that you're able to be of more and more service. That more and more opportunities present themselves to you for you to actually bring a touch, a healing in some way to the universe. Beautiful. Yeah. Other questions? There's a mic. You can just go to that mic.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you for letting me ask you. I'd actually come here wanting to just observe because it's my first session that I'm attending of yours. But as you were speaking, there was a question that arose quite naturally, so I figured I'd ask. I currently have a partner who is in quite a bit of pain and agony. She has been trying for quite a while to find her purpose in life, and the fact that she has not been able to find one yet is a source of great suffering for her. And she also has not yet encountered the power of spiritual belief, if I were to summarize it so in such a light manner. But because of this directionlessness that she feels, there's a lot of suffering and pain that is caused within her. And what I wanted to ask about is what role should be relevant for me to play
Beautiful.
in her journey.
Beautiful. So a lot of people make the mistake of thinking that we have one purpose in life. And it's really a disease of this generation. If you ask your grandmother whether she ever suffered from wondering what her purpose was, you never ever hear about it. If you read literature that was written more than 50 years ago, fiction, novels, nonfiction, whatever, across the board, these questions of my life's purpose, they just didn't seem to really arise nearly as much. It's not that no one thought about it, but it wasn't the epidemic that it is today. Most of our grandparents, great-grandparents, they knew you're going to have a job and you're going to make money and you're going to have kids and you're going to take care of the kids and you're going to put food on the table and you're going to give to charity and you're going to be nice to the neighbors and you're going to be a good, loving, honest person in your own way. And that was really, in most cases, enough for people. Over the last really just couple decades, it's really been just like this generation and a little bit the generation before it, is this sense of there is something that is waiting for me and I'm not able to find it. My unique purpose, Dharma. And I cannot tell you the number of people today who are really suffering. More women than men, but men as well. So first of all, it's really important for her to understand purpose in life. First of all, we all have the same purpose in life, which is to wake up, to self-realize, to have God realization or self-realization or moksha or awakening or whatever word we use for it. That actually is the reason we all take birth. Beyond that, we all have different roles that we play in our life. As a child to our parents, as a parent to child, as a spouse to a spouse, as people in communities. And we have different roles and different dharmas. We have different purposes and dharmas at different times of our life. Student years, career years, golden years. Purpose changes. But through all of that, we also all have unique skills and gifts and inclinations and interests. The dilemma is in thinking that somehow, A, there's one purpose that she has, B, that it's going to pay the bills, C, that it's going to be something very, very specific and tangible and essentially is going to land in her lap if she just can figure out what it is. And these are all really big misconceptions. For some people, their dharma or purpose is really clear. Like you look at somebody like Gandhi or Martin Luther King or Florence Nightingale. It's like these are people who, clear one dharma, like this obviously is what you came onto earth for. But for most people, it's not quite so cut and dry that I'm going to essentially spend almost all of the waking moments of my life dedicated to one purpose that's going to consume me in thought, in action, in waking and sleeping, in all of that. For most of us, it isn't really like that. For most of us, that purpose really much more is to just express our different gifts in the ways that we can. To figure out what our unique skills, abilities, gifts, tendencies, characteristics, resources may be. We may end up with more than one purpose. And to utilize all of them. To be very aware that it's not going to necessarily pay the bills. That your career is not always your purpose. And to just move through each moment, essentially putting one foot in front of the other with as much awareness, presence, mindfulness, love, and surrender as you can. Because it's that surrender that allows our role in the universe to manifest. You know, I always joke that if the caterpillar were so wrapped up in its own mind that it wasn't fair because the millipede got 1,000 legs and he only got 100 legs, and why was he always getting the short end of the stick, and it's not fair, that caterpillar might actually miss the sign or the signal to climb the tree and weave the cocoon. And a lot of that happens with us. Our minds are so stuck that I think a lot of us actually miss that calling that comes when we are open and surrendered and available. Now, unfortunately, the dilemma is you mentioned that she's not really much on a spiritual path, which makes a lot of this more difficult for you to convey to her. But I would say gently and lovingly, to the very best of your ability, just offer some of these thoughts. Hey, maybe don't you think it's possible that? Hey, what do you think about this? You know, one of the things that she could do is just figure out as many ways as possible that she can be of service. To just let that be her purpose, to be of service. I mean, when we all think about our purpose, it's always service of some kind. We all want to be in service of some kind in some way, whether we think about it as being president of a nation or CEO of a top company or inventor of some big thing or whatever it may be. We always think of it in a way of service and helping. Let her think about if she's open to it. Her purpose being just to be of service. And she may not know in what way it's going to manifest for the rest of her life, but for now, let it just be whatever the moment requires. Whatever the moment is. Can she buy the coffee for the person in front of her in line at the coffee shop? Can she walk out of the house with 2 sandwiches instead of 1 and give 1 to a homeless person on the side of the road? Can she ask the person in the cubicle next to her at work whether maybe they'd like to go home early today and she'll take over what they need to finish up? I don't mean she becomes a martyr. Little things. Hey, leave half an hour early. Whatever you've got going, I'll put in an extra half hour for you. But to just be of service in whatever way she can. Small things. But they should be as constant and consistent during the day as possible. And what that will do is it will open her up to the calling of the universe. Because if you're going to be of service, you have to know what's needed. And in opening herself up to that, she may discover a deeper calling. Or she may discover that she loves just moving through her day, figuring out how many different people she can help in how many different ways. Because that in and of itself is a really beautiful purpose. It's why we're all here. To wake up and to be of service. Like, that's it. So if she's not on a spiritual path, so she's not working toward the wake-upness, at least let her work on the be of service part. And from your part, just model it, exemplify it, you be of service. You say to her, hey, I went to Rishikesh and I got this great idea. I was in Satsang. And I got this great idea. I'm going to just help as many people as I can every day. I'm going to just see how many different people I can help. And again, it may be little things. A kid may be crying in the grocery store and you just bend down and, tickle him or buy him the lollipop that he wants that his mom's not buying him, or whatever it is. It's a whole different way of thinking about life. You start. And as you are glowing with that beautiful joy, maybe she'll join you. Beautiful. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Wonderful. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening. If we didn't have a chance to take your question tonight, just get your hand up really quickly tomorrow and we'll start with your questions tomorrow. And so much love to you all.